Lebanon is a country on the brink, and desperation is driving some to daring acts. Meet the ordinary woman who became a bank robber.
لأقصى حدود، لأبعد حدود. لو كنت بدي انحبس كل حياتي.
She became a hero. That day we were all Sally.
How far would you go to take back what is yours? In Beirut, the banks have become public enemy number one. Most are boarded up, using secret side entrances or hidden behind barbed wire and concrete barricades, shutting out the people whose money they hold.
Hello, Sally.
Hello.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here to meet me.
Thank you.
This is Sally Hafez. She had $20,000 in life savings, but couldn't access it.
When was the last time you could freely access your money in the bank?
Oh, maybe 4 years ago.
4 years ago. How do you survive on a day-to-day basis if you can't access your money?
بصعوبة كبيرة، كل شيء ممكن إنك تقضيه، يعني ممكن توقف ظهرات، توقف سهرات، توقف سفر، فيك ما تاكل حتى، فيك ما تلبس، بس إنك تشوف حدا مريض عم بيعاني، هون بتصير الشغلة صعبة كتير.
Once upon a time, Sally was just an interior designer. But last year, when faced with a family crisis, she made a radical choice. She decided to rob a bank.
هيدي الوقت كان إني فوت على البنك وآخذ مصرياتي كانت الطريقة الوحيدة لحتى أقدر أغير بالواقع اللي كنت فيه.
And she couldn't do it alone. Citizens lobby group Depositors Outcry had been protesting at banks and advocating for depositors trying to get their money back. Ibrahim Abdallah is one of the group's leaders and an old friend of Sally's.
ما قلنا حل إلا المواجهة وبس. أوكي فشوف إمتى بدك حضر كم حدا موثوقين نوثق فيهم نحكي معهم وخلص خلي الضربة تكون بأسرع وقت لأنه عن جد ما بقى ينحمل هالشي.
Sally pitched the plan in a voice message.
We had to ask one lawyer to take his advice. We had to gather to plan how we can support her. Attacking a bank or entering it, you have to be brave. The plan was like she will take the money, only her deposit, not $1 more. Okay? That was very clear. We are not thieves, we are not stealing money from the bank. We are just liberating our deposits.
البنك كان حد بيتي، إنه أنا فتت على البنك وشفت كم باب لإله، لأعرف كم باب بدي سكر وكم قفل بدي فوت معي. وعرفت إنه تحت في خزنة.
How far were you willing to go to get your money?
يعني أنا ممكن هلأ فوت وما أطلع عايشة. لأقصى حدود، لأبعد حدود. شو ما كان بده يصير، حتى لو كنت بدي انحبس كل حياتي.
Most days, Sally and her family got by with very little money. That was until an event that would bring their fragile existence crashing down.
هيدي بالعيد كانت نانسي بعدها مخلفة جديد. هيدي أنا كنا عائلة كتير سعيدة.
How do you feel looking at these pictures of a very different time for your family?
بتشوف كيف الإنسان بينام عشي بفيق عشي تاني. فجأة بتتغير حياته. كيف الطقس هونيك؟ لا أعرف شو بدي أجيب تياب إلي ولا سيلة. برد؟
ايه
حبيبة قلبي كيف صحتك؟ مشتاقين لك، يلا إن شاء الله قريبا بتمشي على رجليك إن شاء الله.
سنة وشهرين هلأ بصير لها مرضت أختي نانسي بالكانسر بالراس. نانسي بنت كان عمرها 22 سنة، عندها بنت صغيرة كمان. I love you. Me too. يلا باي. بس بحياتنا ما مرقت علينا هيدي الظروف لأنها كانت قوية ومدمرة. يعني اليوم لما الإبرة اللي بتاخدها أختي نانسي حقها $5000، يعني لازم نشتغل كلنا لمدة تقريباً شي سنة لحتى نجمع حق الإبرة اللي بتاخدها كل 20 يوم.
Sally and her family appealed to the manager at their local bank to gain access to their savings.
رفضوا وقالوا إنه هيدا شيء غير صلاحياتهم، وصاروا صاروا يماطلوا. يعني عم بحسسك إنك عم تشحد منه. أنا ما جاي أشحد منك، أنا ما جاي أخذ من مصرياتك، أنا جاي أخذ من مصرياتك. Please give me my money, please. لا. You stole my money and also you want me to beg you. فقلت أنا لا، ما حأرضخ.
Sally isn't alone. She's one of almost 1.5 million Lebanese people who've been locked out of their savings. That's around a quarter of the entire country. I'm on the way to meet someone who's become somewhat of a courtroom freedom fighter for their cause.
Hi, Fawad. Darren.
Hi Darren, nice to meet you too.
You too, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So these are some of the cases we are taking care of for depositors against banks. And here we have about a bit less than 100 cases that we fight against the banks. And as the Depositors Union, till now we've taken a bit more than 500 cases.
500. So each one of these folders represents somebody who has lost retirement savings, salary, life savings.
Yeah, exactly that.
So how did Lebanon get into this mess? Well, it's complicated. The country has accumulated significant debt since the end of the 15-year civil war in 1990.
So in 2016, to keep money flowing in, the central bank devised a plan it called financial engineering.
The banks would offer annual interest of up to 20% to anyone who would deposit foreign currency. It meant banks and Lebanon's elites raked in huge profits while the economy continued to stagnate. As government debt mounted, it borrowed heavily from the central bank. And to keep the system rolling, banks had to aggressively pursue fresh deposits of dollars. Suddenly, those deposits dried up.
They've been disguising this, and fraudulently so. Bankers themselves, a lot of the politicians, they're saying literally, no, things are fine, your money is safe, the Lebanese pound is doing well, so you don't have to worry about anything. So what has been done is pretty much a Ponzi scheme, and the numbers start getting worse and worse, but it takes time for it to completely blow up, and when it did, it was in 2019.
It led to the single biggest uprising in Lebanon's history. The protests toppled the government, but still the crisis deepened. The government defaulted on its foreign debt and banks ran out of money.
Right away, the next day, the banks decided to close for 2 weeks. Throughout these 2 weeks, they did what they wanted to do, they put the controls that they wanted to put in, which was, again, illegal.
When you say controls, you mean withdrawal limits?
Yeah, exactly. Withdrawal limits and transfer limits.
At first, depositors were limited to withdrawing $1,000 per week under the unregulated limits. Then it was $400 a week, then $100 a week. And many people say they've been unable to withdraw even these smaller amounts due to a shortage of cash.
So money went from being something that you could access and use to really just digits on a screen.
And this is exactly what has happened. So people are there almost helpless.
So where did that money go?
The money went into the hands of the few. The money went mainly abroad to the accounts of these bankers, the politicians, the regulators. the big cartels. It's in their real estate portfolio abroad. It's in the things that they own here abroad. It's in their stock portfolio abroad.
The World Bank says political graft has driven the country to near bankruptcy. In a report, it's called this a deliberate depression orchestrated by an elite that has long captured the state and lived off its economic rents. And then in 2020, a shocking event that symbolised just how far Lebanon had spiralled. A chemical explosion at the Beirut port killed over 200 people and caused $15 billion worth of damage.
It was not an accident. You knew this material was there. You didn't do anything about it.
What happened in the port is pure corruption that leads to such explosion.
هيدا شيء مبسط ومصغر عن حال الدولة أو حال النظام تبعنا.
Three-quarters of the population has now fallen into poverty. Inflation is rampant, and the Lebanese pound has lost around 90% of its value against the US dollar. It's one of the world's worst economic collapses in over a century. Fawad is taking me to an ordinary ATM to show me how little money he can withdraw. But we're quickly intercepted by private security outside the branch.
لا أول شيء هون بعدهم على الملك العام. بعدهم على الملك العام. ما في لا ما في.
They don't want us to film the bank, even though we have a permit and are on public land. Fawad is making a stand.
ما مصورك. بلا إلي حق أسوي البنك. ما تقلي شو إلي حق ما أعمل. أنا إلي حق أسوي البنك. شو بك حبيبي؟
تهذب وبس.
ليك
نزل ايدك.
مد ايدك رجع. مد ايدك.
ما تصور.
لا مد ايدك.
ما بتصورني لإلي.
كسر.
ما بتصورني لإلي.
ما تقرب ما تقرب.
ما بتصورني لإلي عبالك. ما بتصورني لإلي.
روح يا هير رارتك كف. تعال
Let's leave. So why do they do that, do you think?
I think it's because like one they don't want to don't want to show that there's any problems, and so they just want to try to give the image that everything is good and whatnot, but it's not the case.
ممنوع تصورني لإلي، ممنوع تصورني.
إذا بتريد ما تحكيني، ما بقى تحكيني، تعديتوا علي. ما في حريتك، أنت عملك عام له حق يصورك. تعال اركض، شو اركض. ما راح تشيل تليفوني.
As we try to leave, the guards catch Fawad and gang up on him in an attempt to seize his phone. It becomes violent, and a bystander intervenes.
أعطيني تليفوني. He took my phone. أعطيني تليفوني هلا. أعطيني تليفوني.
So, as you can see, tensions around bank branches here are at breaking point. That was quite a disturbing scene. Fawad ended up with a bloodied face after the altercation. Fortunately, he's got no serious injuries and he's now left the scene and he's gone home. But clearly, it's a very volatile scenario here.
Sally says it's this kind of bullying from banks that motivated her to act.
So you wake up the morning, September 14,
Yes.
with a plan to rob a bank.
بلش النهار الساعة 6 الصبح وبعمل برمي حوالين البنك وبتطلع وبهز براسي وسرقتوني اليوم انتظروني رجعت لكم.
A day earlier, Sally had found her niece and nephew playing cops and robbers with a plastic gun.
أخذت الفرد منهم وعيطت عليهم وحطيته بجزداني. فعبيت مي وكان بقلبه ليسترين بيعطي الافكت تبع الغاز البنزين. رش وقال لهم بدي احرق حالي. وصلت شي لو ودعت اختي لانه كان ممكن اني ما ارجع وقلت لها رايحة أجيب لك مصرياتي.
What's going through your head psychologically? Are you afraid? Are you...
لا ما خفت، وأنا بحياتي ما خفت. أنا الشعور الخوف الوحيد اللي كان مسيطر علي هو أني أخسر أختي. هذا هو الشعور الخوف الوحيد. غير هيك إني انقتل، إني أتقوص، إني انحبس ما كان بشكل عندي أي مشكلة هذا الشيء أبداً، بالعكس كنت جاهزت له.
Armed with a plastic gun and a bottle of diluted mouthwash, and with a posse of supporters behind her, Sally entered the bank, and all hell broke loose.
أنا لجأت للفرد، خرطشته بالعالي وقلت الكل يرجع لورا. الرجال كان بحاجة لفرد حقيقي لحتى يحس بالقوة، بس أنا أعطيت القوة للفرد اللي معي. أنا سكرت الباب وقلت لهم ما بتطلعوا من هون لأخذ المصاري وبس، وفت ورا المدير على المكتب تبعه، وهون حسيت انه صار الموضوع شخصي بيني وبينه. مسكته من رقبته وقلت له ذكرتني انا اللي جيت امبارح واستخفيت فيه وحكيتني كلام جارح، هلا جاي اخذ حقي منك.
نحن هول المصاري مو جايبينهم بالسرقة، نحن تعبانين وشايلين فيهم، هلكنا لجمعناهم، تدفعوا المصاري بالفل.
انه انا وقفت على المكتب، كنت انا عم بحمي ظهري حتى ما يجي حدا من وراي ياخذ الفرد، وانه يكون عم راقب كل شيء من انا وعم بتطلع من فوق، اشرف على الامور انا ورايقه وعاقله لحتى نطلع باقل خسائر ممكنه.
Ibrahim Abdallah was providing support outside the bank.
ما خدتيهم؟
It was like we wanted to release all the anger inside us. We felt that we are liberating our deposits. That day we were all Sally. And to be honest, on the personal level, actually I lost my brother long time back. And that's why I decided to help Sally. He was suffering from the same cancer. Sorry.
It's obviously still very close for you.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Sorry.
Sally took the manager down to the bank safe and demanded he hand over the full $20,000 in her family's account. They resurfaced with wads of US dollars and began counting. The crisis in Lebanon is a complex one. But how are robberies like this experienced by those on the other side of the gun? George Hudge manages a local bank branch with staff he says are also victims of the economic crisis.
I have 10 under my supervision.
And do you fear for their safety, their security?
Yes, I cannot confirm that they are always secure because I don't know when my bank will be attacked. We live under pressure. That's why if you see banks, they are completely closed. They are as castles, as a fortress.
So Sally is considered a hero by some people in Lebanon. What do you make of that?
No, I cannot consider her as a hero. She has the right to ask for her money. She has the right to defend her sister who's badly sick, but not in this way. It is illegal. If there was an iron hand, if the government used force, more force, no Sally and no other can do.
Do you feel like you're witnessing the slow unraveling of your own country?
Yes, sure. It's not easy. We passed by difficult days, but this is more difficult. I witnessed the civil war. It wasn't difficult like this.
So this is more difficult than the civil war?
Yeah, sure. You can hide from bullets, from rockets, but it's not easy to suffer when you cannot buy from the supermarket. We don't have money anymore.
As Sally was out front counting her money, a frightened bystander smashed a window at the rear of the bank. With $13,000 counted and a new rear exit from the scene, Sally ditched her original plan to surrender. She decided, quite literally, to take the money and run.
حطيت بوست على الفيسبوك انه انا صرت بالمطار وبشوفكم باسطنبول تشاو، فدغري وصلت لهم قريوها ونص الاجهزه الموجوده راحت على المطار صارت تدور علي. يعني انا لبست عبايه وحطيت حجاب وحطيت المصاري والتياب ببطني، وهون اتصلنا بالاسعاف قلنا له انه في مرة عم بتولد. فبهذا الوقت لما اجوا دقوا على الباب لحتى ياخذوني فتحت لهم انا الباب وبينت كاني انا عم بولد، ففاتوا يدوروا على سالي وانا ظهرت.
Sally hid out in the Bakar Valley for 3 weeks before making a statement and handing herself in.
نحن ببلد المافيات وإن لم تكن ذئبا أكلتك الذئب.
She was held overnight before being released without charge.
بلاس أنه القاضي طلب مني أجيب له مصرياته.
What Sally did became infectious. Crowds gathered outside banks as would-be Robin Hoods tried to liberate their money inside.
She became a hero, like a lady attacking a bank, and she got her money. And because all the depositors, as I told you, everyone wished to do the same. And one lady came and did what everyone and all the men wished to do it.
In the months since Sally's daring heist, the anger and desperation in Beirut have only worsened.
We cannot continue living in this situation, in this corrupted country. They stole our money, they stole our efforts.
How far do you think things could go? How bad could they get?
We are against violence. We are totally against violence. But I can see that some of the depositors will go to revenge. They will not let their money go.
So they would take life?
Maybe some of them.
After learning that Nancy's cancer had spread, Sally's family could now afford to send her to Istanbul for urgent treatment.
What do you want people to know about what you did?
بدي الناس تعرف وانه في انسانه بيوم من الايام رفضت انه هي تنزل ورفضت انه هي تكون خاضعه لهيدي السلطه ولهيدا النظام ورفضت تكون خاضعه للظلم، فتمردت وقفت وتمردت وقالت لا انا موجوده، انا انسانه، انا امراه، انا فيني اكون قويه وانا فيني انقذ حياه انسانه.